Fighting games are beautiful. Whether you enjoy 3D animation, 2D sprites, and everything in between, there's something out there for everyone. Well, at least visually. Actually playing the game is a different story. Nothing feels worse than picking up a new fighting game only to realize you're about to learn a whole novel of inputs. Oh, that cool combo you saw in the trailer? Yeah, forget about it unless you're willing to put in hundreds of hours. Although nowadays, if you're ever struggling to figure out something, there's probably some random guy talking about it on YouTube. But for as much as I've talked about mechanics on this channel, visual aesthetics are just as important for a game's success. You could have a fighting game that plays amazingly well, but if it looks boring, a lot of people will dismiss it immediately. Graphics and art style are the first things players notice. They help set the tone and create an immersive experience that draws the players in. The vibrant, distinctive visuals of Street Fighter 6 or the dark, gory fatalities in Mortal Kombat 1 do more than just look good. They build a world that players want to spend time in. This is why developers spend so much time and effort into crafting unique art styles and memorable character designs. It ensures that the enjoyment goes beyond the game and becomes a part of their lives. Even a simple tweet about the game fosters a sense of community and shared experience. But even before characters and style come into play, there's a very important choice that every fighting game developer has to make. One thing that is common across not just the FGC but gaming communities in general is the debate between which style is better, 2D or 3D. Some games massively prefer one over the other because it makes more sense for the genre. But for games that have stylistically switched between both, there's always a sizable crowd of people who prefer one over the other. On one hand, if you like 2D, you're someone that needs to let go of the past and accept that the relentless march of technology doesn't care about your low-resolution pixels. And on the other hand, if you prefer 3D, you clearly don't understand the essence of 2D animation and will get hype over whatever 3D slop gets handed to you, as long as it has more reflections and a higher resolution than last time. And the thing is, both sides are kinda right, and wrong at the same time. While 3D represents how far technology has advanced in terms of animation, it often finds itself competing with the appeal and emotional depth that 2D has to offer. The transition period from 2D to 3D was an interesting time, and not just for video games. It's easy to remember all the good that came out of it because it still gets mentioned today. But what about all the bad? Looking back at early 3D animation, a lot of it straight up looks disturbing. The same can be said about fighting games. While it's easy to sit here and laugh at some of these games, they were a really important stepping stone to what we have today. And since then, there's been quite a big emphasis on graphics with every release. Most of the really popular mainstream fighting games have sort of adopted a photorealistic look. There are still some cartoonish aspects, but for the most part, objects in the environment around them are stylized similar to real life. While there's nothing wrong with this, I mean, it still looks good, there's something to be said about how fast this style ages. The reality is that technology will always be a bottleneck when it comes to something like this. It's rare for this type of 3D rendering to stand the test of time because it only looks high quality until something newer comes out. 5 or 10 years from now, we'll probably look back at Street Fighter 6 just like how we looked at 4 and 5 today. But 2D animation doesn't have this issue because it's not trying to look realistic. Disney's older animated movies have aesthetically held up despite being made with objectively worse technology. And we can make a similar comparison to fighting games. Capcom sprite-based fighting games may not have aged well in terms of mechanics, but they are constantly praised visually even though they were made well over 2 decades ago. To this day, some people still think that the best looking Street Fighter game was Third Strike. And to be honest, you can make a compelling argument that it is. One of the things that Third Strike did very well was give weight to its animations. Because of how detailed the art of most of the sprites were, you felt the impact with every move. Not just their silhouette as a whole, but their clothing, their hair, accessories, everything had weight to it. And they were able to exaggerate it because they had control over every frame. This is something you miss out on with interpolated 3D frames generated by the computer. Third Strike also felt snappier. The smeared frames would cover a lot of space in between key poses, giving it a more responsive feel. 3D looks a lot floatier for this reason. The computer is generating every single frame between the key poses, so while it looks smoother, it may not have the same impact. But as cool as it would be to see 2D sprites mainstream again, there's one very big thing preventing that from ever happening: money. It is simply cheaper to render 3D animations than 2D. Imagine having to go frame by frame to animate each character's moves when they hit, miss, or get blocked by every other character in the game. And with how profitable swappable cosmetic items are, it just makes even more sense to stick with 3D. The only really popular 2D drawn fighting games that I can think of right now are Skullgirls and Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla has the advantage of being free to play, but even they have to spike their cosmetic prices for crossover skins because of the sheer amount of animations they have to redraw. Also, another advantage that Brawlhalla has is that they reuse a lot of animations. Every character has the same body except for the crossover skins. Skullgirls, on the other hand, is a little bit different. They literally set the record for most unique sprites, so I definitely don't see that being replicated anytime soon. Even Rivals of Aether, a beloved sprite-based fighting game, is transitioning away from 2D. Ultimately, 3D rendering just allows more flexibility. Things like camera angles and effects have way more depth, and there's only so much you can do with 2D before it becomes a real pain to deal with. especially if you're a smaller indie team. I think the closest we will get to seeing a AAA 2D fighting game is what Guilty Gear is doing. They have perfected the art of pseudo 2D. In the past, games would fake 3D, but now we have the opposite. Arc System Works was able to achieve this by treating 3D rigs just like 2D. So yes, that means they animated everything frame by frame and used 2D techniques like stretching and smearing to sell the effect. This way they get the flexibility of rendering 3D while keeping the same sort of aesthetics of 2D. But of course it came at the cost of being just as, if not more, labor intensive and expensive. But since they have a plethora of 2D games in their catalog, they already have a big enough team with experience. So yeah, although this is a cool way of approaching 3D, it still requires a ton of effort to replicate. It may not make sense cost-wise for a lot of companies, even though AAA companies can definitely afford it. But what's interesting though is that we did see a similar combination of 2D and 3D in the Spider-Verse movies. I can definitely see this becoming more of a trend in animated movies, as we've had way too many with the same photorealistic cartoonish look. But with how well Arc System Works was able to transition from 2D to 3D, even Xrd still holds up visually well to Strive. Obviously I think Strive looks better, but the visual gap between them is not as big as something like Street Fighter V and 6. Now here's the thing, do I expect a bunch of companies to drastically change their art style? Not really. A lot of them have already established this style of 3D rendering in multiple games throughout the years, and for the most part it works. So why fix something that isn't broken? From a financial standpoint, it actually might make sense for these AAA companies, because every year you can use that graphical upgrade as marketing, even if your game hasn't changed that much mechanically. But for indie franchises who might not plan on making a series of games, they need to think about how their game will be perceived as time goes by. Will it still look cool in a few years, or will it seem outdated? That's why picking the right style is key. You want your game to stay fresh and attractive even as the years go by. So while sticking with current trends might be smart for big companies because they have the resources to pump out multiple games, smaller ones might benefit from putting more time and effort so their game can still be appreciated when they stop updating it. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was sort of a continuation of a topic I made a video on a while ago, but that video was more about what makes animations look good and not so much about how they change over time. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Please join the Discord. It's actually my fault that it's dead, but I would like to revive it. It's mostly because I haven't been posting that my Discord sort of died, and I'm not gonna make promises because every time I do, I kind of just disappear for a month. But it'd be nice if you join the Discord. Eventually, the end goal of my Discord is to use it for my second channel. So maybe you guys suggest stuff, or we can do like interactive stuff there, and then I can post it on my second channel. I don't know, something fun. I just really gotta promote it more. That's something I didn't do a good job of. I also have a video idea for the second channel, so stay tuned for that as well. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.